Maybe Coiling Snake. Good morning. It's Friday, December 1st, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Qigong. We have the advanced sets this morning, sets 10 through 18. We're going to pay attention to two sets this morning, Dragon and Tiger joined together and Coiling Snake. There are a couple of things that I'm going to talk about a little bit. One of them is that next week I am changing what we're doing, what I'm doing, what we're doing with the live stream. On Monday and Tuesday, I will not be here. No live stream Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to begin a full review of Xingyi. So I'm going to start taking what I've already created, reviewing that, putting some things together so that there's a more coherent structure, and adding to that, so wherever I've left out something, because there's a lot of things. I talk about that a little bit in context of what we're going to practice this morning in just a minute. So I'm going to review and look at what I've presented, what I've left out, what I think should be included, and start putting all of that together over the next several weeks. On Thursday, so Wednesday, we're going to work on Xingyi. We've got Xingyi's 5 elements, the basic punches, the 5 elements linking form, the 12 animals linking form, and some of the foundation work through Santibul and the practice repetition foundations that I want to make sure that I've recorded, that I've covered, I've beat up on sufficiently on Thursday. So that's all Wednesday, Xingyi Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to work on Tai Chi. Starting with Yang style Tai Chi, because that's where I started. And I'm going to go back again, review what I have, build on that, develop the demo forms that I keep talking about. If I haven't already recorded some of them, because I've recorded some things, haven't published, I will get those published. If I haven't done that, I'm going to record them. That's the whole point of doing this full review, is to make sure that I've closed any gaps that I may have inadvertently created, or just, it's just there, and make sure that that's all available. I also want to make sure the same for Wudang Tai Chi. So we're going to work on that as well. On Friday, Wudang Qigong. And what I may do is, after we work on Qigong, I may put Wudang Tai Chi on Friday, because I've got some other things that I can put on Thursday. Yang style Tai Chi is long. It's the long form. I don't have the short form. I don't have the 24 set. I never really learned it. I learned the long form. So if somebody tells me which movements to put in the 24 set, in which order, I can do that. But I never practiced that. I've always only ever practiced the long form. I did learn Yang style Tai Chi sword. I don't teach it. I've never really taught it, so probably not going to do that. I have also a couple of sets that go with Yang style Tai Chi, the foundation exercises, as well as some leg work, and again, foundation practice. The Friday schedule. So Wednesday, Xingyi. Thursday, Tai Chi, starting with Yang style. Friday, Qigong. I'm going to work through, starting at the beginning, all 18 of the sets according to the way that Professor Liu has outlined that practice in his book. What I have been doing, and what I'm going to do again today, is to take what I learned from him, combine it with what I already knew, and what I could already do, and take that combination and bring that into my teaching. Because, well, it's mine, right? It's not his, it's mine. His teaching is his. He can do what he can do. And some of it is, yeah, pretty impressive. My teaching is mine. I can do what I can do. And some of what I can do is, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, I'm going to take credit where it's due. All right? And that is part of my teaching. There's not a, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful element to that acknowledgement that, yeah, I'm pretty good at what I'm pretty good at that. I messed that up. Oh boy, did I mess that up. That was pretty nice. If I don't ever acknowledge what I'm good at, if I don't ever say to myself even, that wasn't bad. Knowing full well what should be there. And not just because I feel like it. Yeah, that wasn't bad. You can say what you want, but yeah. No. It's very critical of what's being done and still able to say, yeah, no, that wasn't bad. If that never happens, what kind of encouragement is that? How does that help anyone learn anything if all that's ever done is criticism of what's wrong? That needs to happen too. Silence doesn't help either. It doesn't. So not saying anything doesn't help. I stand here and watch and, yeah, okay. That's not going to help you know what you did well. It's not going to help you know what you did poorly. It's not going to help you at all. That disinterest doesn't help at all. If I know what I'm doing well, I can cultivate that. I can work on that. I can develop more skills with what I do well. And that carries over to everything else that I do. So, with all of that in mind, I'm going to make an adjustment here. And we're going to get started. This idea that we learn and we develop and we grow, and as we do that, we need to recognize what we're doing well and what we're not doing quite so well. Where do we need to fix something? Where is there correction needed? Where do we need to make a change? Feet about shoulder width apart. Stand straight. Pull up through the crown of the head. Shoulders down. Stretch the arms down. Pull up through the waist. Pull in. Hand circle to the front. Back around to both sides. Up along the center line. Reach out. Bend the knees as you go over. And no, I'm not going slowly. Reach out. Keep the shoulders down. The arms should be fully extended, the fingertips fully extended, and the arms slightly rounded. Fingertips roll down. Hands return to your sides. All right, that fluidity that comes with, and I'm going to turn this side for a second. That is something that we want to cultivate. Right? There are multiple practice methods which I'm going to talk about in the context of how I learned these sets. This idea that we have more going on inside than what is apparent outwardly is one of the fundamental concepts that I started with when I began learning the internal arts. There was a part of that physical effort that I had studied when I was learning dance, and the fundamentals for ballet and the fundamentals for my own physiology. Alright, so with this set, feet about shoulder width apart, I'm going to move a little bit slowly, not very slowly, and then I'm going to move more quickly. So, hand circle to the front, back around to both sides. Pay attention to what happens in the back as the arms begin to move. Pay attention to what happens through the hips as you begin to reach up and stretch out over the legs. Pay attention to what happens through the feet and the legs and your balance as you lean over. Pay attention to the lower back, the mid back, and the upper back. Keep the shoulders down and roll up through the arms. And again, one more time, a little more quickly. Follow the circle. And elbows down, hands return to your sides. There is an exercise in modern dance that was my foundation for this set. It starts here. Okay. This is for dance. This is first position parallel. This is first position. Heel out, heels together, right? Legs turned out as much as possible. It's my toes go to 45 right now. I never got all the way around. I started too late for my hips to do that, and there's a physiological reason for that. But I'm, all right. So, turned out from the hip, not from the foot. First position, ballet first. First position parallel. From here, we start this big circle stretch. So I had learned an exercise that starts from standing straight, lower the head, begin lowering the shoulders, start through the upper back, start through the mid back, start through the lower back, begin and turn through the hip. Keep the back curved, everything reaching down. Arms are not stiff, but they're not really moving. The focus is on the back. Roll. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. And keep going. Yeah, keep going. There you go. Alright, now, straighten legs. This is for dance. This is not for Qigong or Tai Chi, alright? Straighten legs. Stay there. Now, start with a heel. Pull up through the lower part of the leg, the back part of the leg, up into the hip. Drop the tailbone and use the tailbone as a lever. Pull in through the waist. Roll up through the back. Pay attention to each vertebra as you roll up. Set the hip over the legs. Bring the shoulders into alignment. Raise the head. And return to standing position. Relax. And do that just a little bit more quickly. comes from moving slowly. These foundations are part of what we're going to cover. This is a little preview here. What we're going to cover, and they are fundamental for some of the things that I do. And so it's part of my teaching. That element of previous experience, what you've done already, what you are looking forward to doing, and how they come together in what you're doing today has been the focus of my discussions for the last probably 2 weeks, all right? With the two sets we're going to work on today, Dragon and Tiger joined together. So breathe in, breathe out, turn the toes a little bit, shift, extend, pull in, center, turn the toes, shift, extend, pull in, center. This rhythm and placement, the extension and development of the centering skill, so that as we're moving, right, center over this leg, come down, ready, center over this leg. That ability to move and accurately hit that center mark. All right, not here, right? That's leaning, right? This is leaning. Being able to hit it and continue the movement is part of what we want to work on today. The other part that we're going to pay attention to is how smoothly we can move. So the sense that there's this continuous, this is the same as I was just showing in these stretches, that there's this continuous movement that is connected, that doesn't stop, that flows, and that follows a circular path for everything. That sense is what we want to pay attention to as we work on Dragon and Tiger joined together. I'm going to turn around, feet about shoulder width apart, stand straight, pull up through the crown of the head, relax through the body, pull up through the center. Pay attention to holding through the center of the torso. Pay attention to your upper body and lower body alignment, so shoulders with the hips, elbows with the knees, hands with the feet. Keep the body still. Pay attention to the breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Turn the toes, shift left. Begin. Relax the breath. Pay attention to breathing. Nice and easy. Center the breath through the dantian, the lower dantian. Keep the body upright. Don't lean. Even as you move, relax through the hip. Suspend through the crown of the head. Pull up. Two more. Last time. Center. Palms up. Hands down along both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. And breathe out. The ability to relax your breath as you are moving more quickly is essential. We practice slowly to develop the coordination. We practice slowly to give ourselves time to work on what we're working on. So whether we're working on the meridians and the acupuncture points, whether we're working on the physical muscles and joints, whether we're working on a particular nervous system connection, whatever we happen to be working on, that is part of practice. We also have the idea that fundamentally we want to be able to move at will. More slowly, more quickly, more flexibly, with more strength. I was going to say more strongly, but that more strength. That sense of being able to decide how I'm going to move, what I'm going to do with that, is part of what we want to develop. If we don't have the skills, if we haven't developed the internal workmanship, then I can't if I haven't developed it, then I can't decide that I'm going to practice that today. I don't know what that is. I haven't done anything with it. I can't practice it. If I have learned it, I can say, oh, well, today I feel, I'm not so good. Physically, so I'm going to practice internally. Quiet the body, quiet the mind, everything still, everything quiet. That practice method is extremely helpful. Does many, many things. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go into some of what Professor Liu has taught in his book. The practice method that we're using today, moving more quickly, requires flexibility, and it requires a sense of inner calmness, because as we're moving, and I'm going to use this real quick, huff and puff, right? No huff and puff. The slow practice method for Dragon and Tiger that we just did, breathe in, breathe out. Turn the left toes, shift, change the weight, stay straight, extend, pull in. I'm wobbling a little bit. And come back to center. It takes a lot of work to stay there and hold position. I'm just make a change here and just test something. Oh yeah, that's better. And come back down. Alright. That is the normal pace that I give. Breathe in, breathe out, connect the breath with the movement, bring the chi back in as we're moving, pay attention to those internal and external connections. That method allows us plenty of time to pay attention to where the breath is, to pay attention to what we're doing as we move more quickly. Center the breath at through the lower dantian. So everything sink down. Open through the shoulders so the lungs can move freely, even as you're holding the body still. that gives us, it's not huff and puff. Let me do this again. Breathe in, breathe out. Ready? And pay attention to the breath, right? I did not think about while I was doing this. Relax the breath, allow the body to breathe. As I'm moving, I'm breathing. It's natural. The workmanship that we develop in connecting the breath through the slower movements carries through everything that I do more quickly. So that extension is still there. That pull in is still there. It's not no. Breathe. Let me do this. Chi hu, chi hu. That chi hu, breathe in, breathe out. That is what I'm doing with my breath. Slow, relaxed, with a good rhythm, a good blood flow, and my movements can be much more fluid. And the more fluid my movement, the more quickly I can move. Coiling Snake. We have the same idea of being relaxed and in balance. When I turned, I shifted too far back on my heel. Happens. That is, again, I've done this a couple of times. That is precisely the kind of thing that would happen in class. Not necessarily with the teacher, but it will happen. It has happened to me just now. It's something that has to be developed, that placing a foot, how am I going to turn, what am I going to do, what am I going to do with my weight. I wasn't paying attention to my weight, I was paying attention to the camera and what I was going to say next. That distraction contributed to, wasn't responsible for, I was responsible for it, contributed to my weight shift being incorrect, caused me to lose my balance. That recognition in your own practice. What just happened? Why did it happen? What was the cause? What was the result? What do we do about it? Those questions should be part of every practice session that you have. They're not necessarily something you can answer today. I can. I know what I did. I know what I did wrong. I know how to fix it. I did. That, but as we're learning, that litany of questions, being able to ask the questions sometimes, is what will lead to the answer that you may not even have thought about. Feet about shoulder width apart. For Coiling Snake, the same idea of loose and fluid movement, so that as we're moving, everything centers nicely and flows through the turns. So the body stays upright. That was leaning too much. Body stays upright and fluid. The movements that I just showed, that's the basic idea. That's how we're going to move. The movement should go lower. It goes all the way to the floor. I'm not going all the way to the floor today, but this idea that as we're turning, this is important for today, the idea that as we're turning, where is the weight? If my weight is not centered through my right leg as I turn to the right, if I'm leaning here, if I'm not well placed and well centered here, I can't twist, and I most certainly cannot go all the way down. Okay? Leg strength is something we are going to work on through the next series, so that by the time we get to this form in the full series, the full 18 series, I should be pretty much on the floor. There is also a similar set that we are going to work on. Wudang, 3 basic methods, has Coiling Snake and Creeping Snake. Coiling Snake in Wudang's 3 basic methods is very similar. Here. Right. Sink down. As we come up in Wudang's 3 basic methods, there's a step. I'm going to cover that, both of these together in at least one class, so that the differences are easier to see and the similarities are easier to see. Those elements of similarity extend throughout all of Wudang Qigong and Wudang Tai Chi. So Wudang's 3 basic methods: Coiling Snake, Creeping Snake, Dragon Step. Dragon Step we have in Xingyi as well. Creeping Snake we have in Wudang Tai Chi. Coiling Snake we have in Wudang's 3 basic methods, and we have in Wudang Tai Chi. We also have a snake method in Xingyi. Lots of places. Each of these methods gives us an additional opportunity to develop some physical skill, as well as to develop the concentration and flexibility for all of the exercises that we do. It extends to everything else. All right, so Coiling Snake, gently, a little bit fast, not as similar to what we just did. Pay attention to relaxing the breath and pulling in through the torso to support the body, through the back, pull up through the anus, pull up through the anus, pull up through the center, the perineum, pull up, pull all of that up, open the hip. Feet together, stand straight. Pull up, breathe in, breathe out. Shift and turn, nice and easy. Center, relax the breath. Relax the body, pay attention to staying in the center. Breathe. Nice and easy. Pay attention to the shape of the movement. Pay attention to holding. Keep the hips open, even as you twist. Pull across the front as you sink down. Follow the hand. Center. 2 more. Center. Last time. Palms down, palms up. Press down along both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. It takes a little bit more concentration to pay attention to the breath and slowing it down, using that slow, continuous breath to drive that fast, continuous movement. A little bit more, not too much, it's all right. The better we have coordinated the breath and the movement as we're moving slowly, the easier it is to move more quickly. I'm going to continue this similar sort of thing. I don't know how to say that quite right. The discussion of Wudang Qigong in Professor Liu's book includes several of these elements of physical relaxation, physical and mind, that mind-body coordination, the idea that I've got, my breath is working, my internal energy is working, my patterns are working, everything is fine, and here we go, and I'm going to do this movement now. That concept, that holistic, everything comes together, we bring it all together, and this is what we work with, this is how we practice, how we develop our skills. That fundamental concept is something that I'm going to continue. I'm not going to try and beat up on everything quite as much as I did today, but I will pay attention a little bit more to more of what goes on internally and how we pay attention to practice. Because in most things, not everything, but most things, it's not so much which particular movement we're doing. And I'm going to talk about that and say it's not so much which particular movement we're doing, it's how we do it and what goes behind it. Now, there are specific things we should be paying attention to if we're paying attention to the physical movements and how we use them in application. The two are not separate. They are tightly joined together. So as we're paying attention to this idea of intent and how to practice and how to do some of the movements and how to refine what we're doing in practice, and that includes how we think about what we're doing as well as refinements to the movements, refinements to the ways in which we can practice. We also have to pay attention to this idea that, well, yeah, this is coming out of martial arts. It's not a dance exercise. It's not a strictly moving meditation exercise. It's not, there's a whole long list of what it's not. It is a martial art. That's what I learned. How we practice, how we develop what we're doing, isn't about what I can do to something or someone else. It's about how I develop my own workmanship, and that includes everything. It's everything. It's the physical part, the mental part, right? How I approach problems, how I see the world, that perspective that comes from what I've done. That is my foundation. I hope that this discussion of foundations and how we develop our foundations, what we look at as being our foundation, what creates the foundation that brings us to today. What have we done in the past that brings us to where we are now? What are we going to do with that? How do we want to develop whatever it is we've done? How do we want to learn what we don't know? How can we be open to learning what we don't know? Those skills are also part of something that we can learn, part of my foundation. It's something that I'm going to work on being able to verbalize a little bit better. I appreciate, again, everyone who has been following my classes. I hope that this new series and this new pattern that I'm going to create is going to be useful and informative and help me collect and communicate some of what I've learned so that maybe someone else will decide to learn too. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.